Welcome to Lesson 2 of the SFS Modes crash course. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone that posted comments or contacted me by email. I really value your input and I also think that the community element is good for the overall learning experience. Today we'll learn how we can construct all fretboard fingerings for modes on the fly without using traditional shape memorization. You don't really need to have watched lesson 1 to understand this lesson, but I highly recommend that you do that first if you haven't already, because that lesson clarifies many questions regarding scales and modes. In the next lesson, you will need to have watched both lessons 1 and 2 anyway, because we will put to action the information from both of them. You can use the navigation somewhere on this page to go to lesson 1 if you need to, or even better, use the form to sign up. This way you will make sure that you get all 4 lessons directly in your mailbox and not just hope to bump into them on Facebook or something. Plus, if you sign up, then at the end of the course you will receive a free link for lifetime access to stream or download all course materials so that you can study them at your own pace. So now I'm going to quickly explain what SFS or the string fragment system is and how we can use it to master the modes. SFS is a way to build fingerings on the fly instead of memorizing them. It's based on the fact that all fingerings are actually made of the same string fragments. Look at these two shapes. If you look closely, you will notice that the first string fragment on shape 1 also exists in shape 2. Look at the second string fragment. Again, it's found in both shapes, right under SF1. In the second shape, it also repeats on string 6. We'll talk about that later, but let's look at the third one. Again, it's there in both shapes. The same goes for SF4 and then SF5. In the first shape, SF1 repeats on string 1. So both shapes are made of the same string fragments, in the same order, just on different strings. If you check, you will see that every possible shape on the fretboard is actually made of these same string fragments. By the way, if you use 3 notes per string fingerings, the same thing applies, with the only difference that the string fragments are 7 instead of 5. So what we do when we study SFS is to train ourselves to stack these string fragments on the fly and automatically make a few adjustments that are needed. We'll talk about those adjustments as they come up. So we need some practice to get used to this new way of thinking, but afterwards we don't need to memorize anymore, so we save a lot of time and energy in the long run. In addition to that, there are a bunch of other advantages to using this system, not the least of which is the ability to jump very easily between fingerings in any area. By the way, if you practiced SFS pentatonics or any other SFS course in the past, then you are already used to thinking this way, so you can master the modes much sooner. But if this is your first time with this system, then you should be happy to hear that the better you get at using SFS, the easier and the faster it gets to learn new scales and melodic structures. So if you thought that it was impossible to learn all the modes of the melodic or of the harmonic minor and symmetric scales like the whole tone and half whole diminished, or any other exotic and crazy scale, rest assured that with SFS this becomes very feasible. That's because with SFS, learning them takes a fraction of the time compared to simple shape memorization. It still takes some work, but nothing compared to having to memorize all those meaningless shapes. Plus, this is way more fun and you get far more understanding of what you're actually playing. So today, we'll just take the Aeolian mode and map it all over the fretboard just to help you understand how SFS works. In the next lesson, we'll see how to do the same for all 7 modes in all keys. The first thing we need to do is to locate all the A's on the fretboard. If you don't know them, that's fine. You can just look at the table and follow along with us. So the first one is on string 6, fret 5 or fret 17 for the higher octave. We'll put our first finger there and just play this simple 3-note string fragment. These are the first 3 notes of the A Aeolian. The next step is to go to all the A's and do the same. On the 5th string, we go to fret 12 instead of the open string for the sake of consistency. Later, when you learn the system well, it's very easy to adapt it for open strings. So here it is on string 5. Let's do it on string 4. The A is on fret 7, so here's our string fragment again. On string 3, we have A on fret 2 and 14, so here's how that looks. On string 2, the A is on fret 10. And on string 1, we have the A on frets 5 and 17, like we did for string 6. So what we did just now is something that even some professional players have trouble doing while they're soloing. Even though we just played 3 notes of A Aeolian, we played them in every possible fretboard area. We actually played a small part of every fretboard shape for A Aeolian. So if you're impressed when you see someone soloing all over the place without being limited into box shapes, you should get excited because you are beginning to learn just that. But of course we don't want to stay on just 3 notes, so let's add a second string fragment. SF2 looks exactly like SF1 and is located directly below it. So let's apply our system of 2 string fragments on every A again. This brings us to one of those adjustments that we need to learn in order for the system to work correctly. Did you notice how I shifted SF2 1 fret higher when I crossed from string 3 to string 2? That's because of a discrepancy in the standard tuning of the guitar. I may have time to explain it further in some other lesson, but for now just keep in mind that whenever we cross from string 3 to string 2, we will need to shift up 1 fret. Or if you are coming backwards from string 2 to string 3, you need to shift down 1 fret. The first few times this may trip you up, but the good news is that with some practice, this shifting becomes completely automatic and transparent. You will just do it without thinking. So now with these 2 string fragments, we have covered 6 notes everywhere on the fretboard. Let's add one more string fragment. Here we have a couple of options. SF3 can look like this if we want to produce pure 3-note per string fingerings with finger stretching and so on, or like this if we want to use hybrid fingerings. Both of these fingering systems are great for different reasons, and in my SFS modes premium course I teach both extensively, but for the sake of simplicity I will choose this one for now. If you want to know more about the differences of these 2 systems and the advantages of each one, you'll find a link on this page to a lesson called 3 notes per string versus hybrid fingerings for modes. Toward the end of this crash course, in lesson 4, I will give you the complete SFS for both systems, so you'll be able to apply what we learned here on both of them if you want. With the addition of SF3, our SFS has grown and looks like this. So let's apply it on every A. Again, you should pay special attention to how the system is affected when crossing between strings 3 and 2. So look at all the dimmed notes on this fretboard. With just 3 string fragments, we traveled all positions and played a complete octave of the A Aeolian mode. Of course, we didn't cover all possibilities yet, because for that we would need a total of 5 string fragments. But still the fact remains, we played the most part of all shapes without memorizing them. And later, when we do add the remaining 2 string fragments, we will have covered all fingerings completely again without memorizing them. But the beauty of SFS is that you can begin to improvise and enjoy moving everywhere on the fretboard from the beginning before covering all 5 string fragments. In fact, the way I usually like to teach this to my students is to start with just a single string fragment and try to be creative just with that by using various improvisation tips and techniques. Then when we add SF2, we add more soloing ideas and so on. By the time we cover all the string fragments and learn to build the system backwards and cover 3 notes per string options and all that, we go through a very substantial list of improvisation ideas. But anyway, my point is that the best way to learn this is to add creativity at every step of the way. This is very different from memorizing a dry, meaningless shape and then try to stick creativity on top of that. Now, in the context of this crash course, we don't have time to do everything, so we will limit ourselves to these 3 string fragments we learned today. I will give you material to build the rest on your own in lesson 4. But with just these 3 string fragments we learned, we are now ready to see how to use our knowledge from the previous lesson to immediately play all 7 modes. And that's exactly what we'll do in lesson 3. So in the next lesson, you will get a very quick way to play Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. But it will be even quicker and easier than what we did today because the string fragments will be the same. So you already know them. You will just need to learn how to manipulate them. But let's not get carried away with that yet. For today's lesson, we will stick to Aeolian using the 3 string fragments we learned. You can experiment with this yourself by moving this 3-string SFS to every A and improvising. Then you can mix all the root notes randomly and jump around the fretboard. I'm now going to show you a quick example of that, and then you can use the backing track below to do the same yourself. So watch this demo and then try to be as creative as you can in your own solo, even if you just have 3 strings available. The ability to jump around freely to every A compensates for the 3-string limitation. And don't forget to like and share this lesson and sign up for the complete crash course if you haven't already. So I will leave you with the demo and I'll see you in lesson 3. This is Prokopis from EffectiveMusicPractice.com reminding you to enjoy your practice and be effective.